Welcome to 2018 NAMM. I am Joel Wanasek and demonstrating my bus glue compressor series today, which is pretty exciting. For those of you not familiar with me, I own Unstoppable Recording Machine, one of the world's leading online educational platforms, as well as a software company, Drumforge. We make award-winning sample libraries and audio mixing plugins and fun stuff like that. Aside from that, I've also mixed a lot of cool bands like Machine Head and Bless the Fall, Attila, Miyavi, Vinyl Theater, etc. So when I got a chance to sit down with Joey and develop the bus glue compressor series, first thing I wanted to do is obviously do something much different than his. Because he's like, yeah, you want to do your own signature bus glue? I'm like, well, yeah, dude, it's just got to like not be anything at all remotely like yours, and let's do it. And I thought about a simple question. I was like, how can I make my life easier when I mix? For me, for those of you familiar with my work and Unstoppable Recording Machine, you guys know that I like to mix really fast, and I used to mix a lot of songs in a year, and I many times have cleared way over 500 songs in a year, and sometimes I'll mix like a whole album in 2 days. Shh, don't tell the bands, they'll be mad. But no, seriously, because I'm all about making money, and I'm not going to sit there and screw around with like attack rate and release ratios on a compressor, because I know what I want 99.999% of the time, and I'm more interested in taking the emotional side of the song, taking the artist and giving them a mix that sounds and has good energy and connects, and like I don't care what compressor I have on the, does it sound good, yes or no? So I wanted to make a set of tools that would allow me to mix faster, mix more consistently, and give me control and sound freaking awesome. So I wanted to put it on and just be like, yes, that makes it sound better. Yes, that makes it sound better immediately. So, I got to sit down, model a lot of cool outboard gear that I had, and had a lot of fun doing this, and take all of my favorite elements out of every tool that I've ever used in mixing and simplify them into what I'm about to demonstrate for you today. So if you're not familiar with bus glue, basically it's a series of 6 compressors. There's a mixed bus compressor, drums, guitars, keys, which is like synths, strings, all that stuff, vocals, and bass. And you throw them on your buses, and you take your entire sound, and for example, like all your rhythm guitars or your mix or whatever, and you throw them on your bus, and it takes them and helps put your mix together. So I kind of wanted to make this even more fun. I'm like, what if I could get my mixing to the point where I could remove all of my tools from mixing except for balance and EQ, and then any specialty plugins. So that was kind of like my other hidden goal. I didn't want to have to open up any other plugin other than my own for any reason other than like something affected. So for example, I need a reverb or something like that, or a delay on this guitar. So that was kind of like my overall design goal, like make life a lot easier, have it sound incredible, and make a tool that's going to be conducive to making great songs and great mixes without having to sit there and shoot yourself in the foot and, try to figure out which one of your 80 compressors is going to sound best on bass. It's a waste of time, especially when you got 500 more songs to mix this week. So that being said, let's dig in, let's take a look, and I'm going to show you some of my toys. I've got a band some of you may be familiar with. They're called Attila. It's pretty heavy, so if you guys don't like metal, I have something softer coming up after this. And what we're going to do right now is we're going to walk through some of these different, hold on, let me just get this set up here. We're going to walk through some of these different bus glues, and then I'm going to show you how fast you can dial it in and how much easier it can make your life. So I'm going to start off the top. The song is I think Guilty Pleasures. Heavy stuff. So, all right. So let's start off with the drums, because the drums are super easy and a lot of fun. This is one of the more simpler models. And the interface was laid out like this. In my opinion, software is very difficult to mix quickly with when you have knobs. I hate knobs because a knob is meant to be turned by a hand, and a mouse doesn't like going in this motion. I absolutely hate that. Or sometimes, it always felt weird to me, like the knob goes like this in real life. It doesn't go like this. It doesn't go like this on a screen. So I'm like, why not just have a slider that I could just go like this and just be done with it? So I've always liked the slider style compressors. So I wanted to do sliders on all this where you can just be like, boom, level, smash. I call it crush. And what's your output? So it makes it really easy to compress. I can sit here and go like, and then I can close it, and it's done. And it's exactly how I want it to sound. Now, what's cool about this is I should mention on the bus glues, I have 2 compressors and a series of limiters. Okay, so the drums and the mix bus compressor are compressors, and they use auto makeup gain. And what's cool about that, it's a very intelligent algorithm, and it's no matter where you set the compressor, it's always gonna maintain the same volume, essentially, so you can hear the compression and not the change in gain. So let me demonstrate. Pretty cool. So you can hear, if you're smashing it or if you're hitting it a little bit, you can hear what it sounds like as opposed to, oh, it's getting louder, it sounds better. And that's something I think is important when you're listening to a compressor. So that was one of the things we worked in here that I was very happy with. So, again, you crush, how much do you want to smash the signal? Loud is your output. Very easy to use. You can link them, which is very convenient and nice. And then on the drums, I've got 2 modes. So standard is based off what would be like my go-to 90% of the time bus compressor setup here for drums. Tried and true with my own twist. And then pumping. Pumping is a very special piece of hardware that is my favorite drum bus compressor. It's a Roll Music 755 RMS super stereo compressor. And there's a setting on there that I love that has a certain action, and I call it like a rubber banding motion, where like it just takes the drums, you throw them in, it throws them back at you even harder, and it's really freaking exciting. Now, this is not something I would use on a band like Attila, where it's extremely, it's fast. I usually like it on slow rock, where there's a lot of, like big beat, space, and it's got a lot of energy because it's very punchy sounding. But something like this, I like something like this at regular sound, which would be standard, which is something that's a little bit more glued. So, in reality, I can set this in like 10 seconds, close it, and be done with it. So that's the drums, and let's hear it in action. Oh, wrong button. All right, I got it where I want it. So let me just pop in cymbals real quick. I'm not going to throw any bus compression on any of these. I just want to balance them. Okay, so now let's talk about guitars, because guitars are fun and complicated. And mixing guitars is always a challenge, and a lot of people struggle with this because, think about it, guitars, especially distorted guitars, are broadband noise. And they get hissy, they get, like farty in the low end. They take up a lot of headroom. They're extremely challenging to mix for anybody. And a big thing I like to do, and not every engineer does this, is I like to limit my guitars. And I love limiting guitars because for me, it takes off some of the dynamic swings in it. It creates a lot more headroom in the mix, and it makes it a lot easier to kind of just like smash it in there, put it exactly where you want it, and lock it right into the mix. And another major problem when recording guitars, and especially heavy guitars, is when you've got a lot of chugs. So you're like, da, 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 those palm mutes. And the palm mutes are extremely frustrating to mix because you're getting these low-end swings between 100 and, let's say, 150 hertz that just crush your mix. So you have your guitars perfect. They're playing chords on the chorus of the song. All of a sudden, you get to like a breakdown, and it's da, 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 and all of a sudden, your output meter, you're going 6 dB spikes plus. So how do you control your chugs? So I made a chug slayer circuit, which is like a complicated multi-band thing that's dialed in specifically for guitar chugs. One button, you click it, boom, chug slayed, no problem. Go home, have a nice day. Now this song was cut with a sim and the guitar, so I can't really demonstrate the chug slayer very accurately, but I promise you it works, and it works very well. So let's dial in some guitar. Boy, that was fun and easy. All right, I'm gonna close it. All right, I'm gonna throw in some lead guitars. And the same thing, just like the guitars, generally when I'm mixing, I like to compress lead guitars again because I like to create more headroom, and I kind of like to just give them that little bit of saturation and glue that it adds. So let me just open the guitar compressor here. I'm just gonna smash the crap out of these with no remorse. Boy, that was easy too. Didn't have to turn any knobs, figure out any attack and release. Didn't have to sit there and figure out which of my 30 compressor plugins is gonna sound good because I already know which ones I like. So, all right, those are dialed in. I'm not gonna play with them. Now let's open a very special and complicated as this series gets. I'm going to show you my bass compressor. This one I especially love. And my premise coming in on the bass was I wanted to make a tool that I can take a bass DI, which is, I would say 9 out of 10 times is what I get to mix. I can take a bass DI and not open, touch, or do anything to it and kick out what I would consider a major label bass sound that I would be finished on my record. So this thing has a lot of mojo and a lot of cool stuff going under the hood. Like it automatically adds subharmonics onto your bass at a specific amount so that it can cut on those speakers and kind of add some width and depth to your bass and things like that. So this compressor does a lot of different cool stuff. So I should say limiter. It allows you to limit the top and the bottom of the bass. So for example, when I move the meters, you can see it's grayed out. I can switch, okay, now I'm limiting the bottom, now I'm limiting the top end, which is very useful because, for example, I love to crush the bottom end of my mix because I don't like when the low end is swinging. I want the low end to be perfectly knocked in, but still maintain the top dynamics on the bass a little bit, depending on the genre. If it's distorted metal like this, I mean, obviously I'm gonna want something kind of ratty and distorted, but I want that bottom end just pinned where it does not move, and I have a perfect, consistent low end across the entire record. So when I throw it into my mix bus compressor, it's just slamming, and it sounds great, and there's no surprises. The bass player is not gonna hit a note up here, and it's gonna be way quieter than an open on the instrument, which is very important when you're mixing because I don't want to write 600 points of automation on the bass. Again, I got 10 more songs to mix that week, so I kind of want to get those songs mixed and get them to the artist so I can get notes, and I want to focus on that and making the song cut through and just be amazing. And I don't want to sit there and focus on writing every little bass part. I want the bass to just boom, locked in the mix and to sound amazing. So another thing this has got that's really awesome is a bass position, meaning where do you want your kick drum? And this is like the position or the decision you have to make when you're mixing bass. Do you want your kick drum below the bass or above it? You can't have both because, in your bottom end under, let's just say 80 to 100 hertz-ish, in most mixes, that's all that's down there. There's the bottom end of the kick where all your punch and excitement and energy comes from, and the bass, which is kind of what gives it the note and gives it the full, massive, big bottom sound that we all love and chase after. So with a single button here, you can position it. Until the way it's mixed, I'm going to put the bass below the kick because the kick sub is actually kind of high. In the next song, I'm going to switch it because, but either way, like I said, it's on a single button. You can just sit here and spam the button. You can quickly test it. You don't have to sit there and play with filters and EQ. One button, boom, which sounds better, done. Okay, and the other thing we have going on in the bass is I have a grit circuit. So I've got some different types of distortions in here, some that are going to work incredible for metal type stuff, and one that works for rock, as well as you can drive the top end and make it distorted a little bit on the top of the bass and get a cool saturation there. So I wanted to come up with a set of saturations, like I said, because a lot of times we're gonna be mixing DIs now. This is like the de facto standard. But I wanted to come up with a set of saturations that were gonna be extremely versatile so I could very quickly go A, B, C, or off and make a decision and be like, that's the perfect one for the song, boom. Then I don't have to open up 4 different sims, find the thing, test it, tweak the cab. Again, it's a waste of time. I just want to be like, that bass sounds great. All right, let's get on with it and get to the vocals, which people actually care about. So let me demonstrate. Let's get this locked in. I'm gonna smash my bottom. That sounds pretty mean and nasty. I mean, come on, it's Attila. Like, let's be real. It's supposed to sound mean and nasty. All right, that was easy. I got my bass exactly where I wanted it. All that time talking about it and just, 45 seconds and it's there. So, all right, so we got all this stuff mixed. It sounded good instrumentally. At this point, let's take before I hop into vocals, let's go take a look at the bus. Allow me to be Mac deficient here. I have been a PC mixer my entire life. Okay, let me go find, I forget all the hotkeys. There we go. All right, let's talk about the mix compressor. This is my favorite. And it's my favorite because I have a no small time button. I'm gonna talk about that in a second. Down here we have a transformer section, and I modeled this after my Shadow Hills. A very special piece of hardware I have. I have a $9,000. That's at least what it cost when I bought it. It was like a kidney, maybe two, and some other internal organs. I had to give up part of my body to afford it, but I bought it many years ago, and it's like something I love very much. And it's got these 3 transformers on it, and steel is kind of like a saturated, very large sounding, massive, exciting, open sound. Iron is really glued. It's kind of a little bit fatter in the low mids, and then nickel's kind of very open and expansive and a little bit brighter. So I really like these because they have a very nice finishing effect on a mix, and they kind of make the mix just sound, what's the word I'm looking for? Awesome, no matter what you put through it. So I modeled the transformers. I thought the programmer did an amazing job. Up here, I have the bus compressor section. And again, this one has the auto makeup gain. So as you compress it, it's going to make it up and try to compensate for the volume. And then I have the no small time button. And this is my favorite button in the entire world because I wanted to make a button, not only because this is my hashtag for like the last 8 years, but I wanted to make a button on my mix that adds that it's mastered now, meaning like it gives it that extra 5% where it just makes your entire mix always sound better every time. I mean, with as much predictability as possible. Under the hood, there's a lot of things going on under this button. There's some bass harmonic synthesis going on. There's some console saturation, tape saturation. There's some MSEQ for widening and very specific frequencies. There's some additional EQ and some other stuff. But basically, there's a lot of cool stuff under the hood, and it's done subtly and in a good amount where I feel like, when you just turn it on and mix into it, it just kind of takes the mix and makes it sound a lot more finished, which I love because, no small time. Your mix is small time, then you go through the button, then it's not small time. That was kind of the goal. So, all right, let's crush this thing and get this mix popping. Doesn't it just kick so much more butt with the no small time button on? I mean, really, it's just like, I love that button. I wish every plugin had it. So yeah, you can play with different transformers. Not something I'm gonna do on the floor here at NAMM because it's too loud and it's a very subtle thing. We're talking like 2%, it's something more done in critical listening. Okay, so that's the mix. You can see how easy it is. I mean, just pick a transformer, dial it in, close it, have a nice day, and forget about it. All right, let's take a look at our vocals. A lot of stuff going under the hood in the vocal compressor. Okay, so the vocals, I love limiters on vocals because I don't want my vocals to move at all. So I have a limiter circuit we've designed here that's very good at controlling. So let's... Can just crush the vocals, put them exactly where I want without picking up the breaths. I like the control over that. I think it's really nice. And then we have 2 circuits down here. We have an aggressive and aggro circuit and a tone circuit. The aggro circuit is a type of parallel distortion that I've picked out. And this is stuff has been tested over years and years and years and perfected. The aggro circuit is a type of parallel distortion that's really nice at kind of, again, just taking vocals, giving them their own space in the mix and locking them in and kind of making them sound finished. And that's pretty cool. Like, I like it because sometimes you need a little bit of saturation. You want to push it in. And then there's the tone circuit. And the tone circuit is kind of like a dynamic EQ and some multi-band type compression. And the point of the tone circuit is that my goal was to get something where I can control, lock in a certain EQ curve to the vocals no matter what note the singer's on. So sometimes they hit like, let's just say on a high B flat, like, all of a sudden, like, their voice just blows up the speaker. Then they go down to like an A and their voice gets a lot quieter. You know what I mean? There's all these certain vocalists have like weird, harsh frequencies depending on the microphone, the room, the dynamics of the singer, etc. So I wanted to create a circuit to kind of like, one, EQ the vocals, but not only EQ the vocals, I wanted to come up with a circuit that not only did that, but helped me lock them in and give them a sound and kind of keep them in that EQ. So I came up with a range. This, again, I'm very musical with this. I don't want to look at numbers. I don't want to look at math. It's just 0 to 100%, So you can sit here, you can figure out what makes sense for your mix and where you like it. So let's rock it. play with the aggro. What would music be without air drumming? I hope you guys do that when you mix too, because I do it all the time and it's really lame. All right, so now we've gone through almost all the different bus glues. I still gotta demonstrate keys, but I'm gonna kind of whip through this and just show you how fun and easy it is to get a mix going with these. So, all right, let's take this song here. I've got a softer song for those of you that are sick of listening to heavy music. Let's play this. Stems may be a little bit louder, so if I blow you up, I'm sorry. All right, so we got a bunch of stems here. You know, there's some EQ baked in. Great. It needs dynamics. All right, so let's pop on our drums. What kind of drums you guys want on this song? You want them splatty or you want them punchy? All right, we were gonna go punchy. Let's go pumping. They wanted splatty yesterday. You guys are way more fun today. So all right, let's punch them. Boy, that was quick. All right. Let me buy on some of my cymbals here. All right. Now let's take a look at our guitars. Actually, hold on. Let's go to bass. Let's get a bass sound happening. So what do we got? All right. Let's smash this bass. Done with that. That was easy. All right, let's throw on guitars. See how mixing with these is very intuitive. It's very much about capturing the moment, the impulse. Does it sound better, yes or no? That's what I'm really about. I want to focus on big picture decisions when I'm mixing, not technical things. Guitars done. That was easy. All right, so let's take a look at the keys. Now I got 3 synth stems here that I prepped for you so I can show you this. I got 2 things going on. First off, I have a limiter because I love, again, synths have a lot of, what's the word I'm looking for? A lot of dynamic swing to them, especially some of the pads and have a lot of mid-range. So they always need some sort of EQ, even if you're using like the best synth type plugins out in the market and use really great sounds. There's always some like weird frequencies. And I've always liked different types of saturation, compression, and always a little bit of limiting just to kind of make sure that like, you know, you're not getting any weird spikes or peaks that are throwing your mix out. So I created this push circuit here, which is a combination of a bunch of different things. But basically, it's a certain type of attack and release compression to kind of glue the synths into place, and some types of parallel saturation and things like that to kind of take the synths and push them. So they sound wider, they sound bigger, meaning you know, more depth, front to back, width, left to right, and top to bottom. You know, so like I like to just kind of push the synths. So let's hear it. You can hear how the compressor digs in a little bit, and it kind of just really makes them kind of like, you know, it may sound compressed now, but let me throw it in the mix. Hold on. You see, when I turn the Blessed Glue compressor off, you get all those weird transients which are distracting to the ear, where this part is supposed to be more background, because hey, we got all these vocals and it's pop. It's just supposed to sound huge and finished and ambient and lock in. This single series of tools allows me to just very quickly lock it into the mix exactly where I want it. All right, we got some kind of bass synth here. Let's do the same thing because this was designed to handle all types of situations. We're gonna murder it, and let's pop it in. And then we got another synth on top. Same thing. I love this thing. You can see very quickly, I've got a mix. So let's take a look at the vocals now here. Let's dial these in. And boom, mix is done.